This video is dedicated by the Huberfeld family in memory of Pinchas ben Moshe Aaron Huberfeld, Alav Shalom. Hello and welcome to Jewish History in Daf Yomi. So today's Daf is the conclusion of this Masechta. Thank you so much for the privilege of learning with me. I've decided to spend some time at the end of Masechtas to sort of take a step away from the page itself and think about centers of Torah learning. That is, places where Jews lived and engaged in Torah study. And even though this is not one of the great citadels of Talmud study, it has great reference and great importance for our study of the Talmud. That is the city known as Kaifeng, which is in China. Here's a map of the various Chinese Jewish communities that existed from medieval times at least. We have documentation of Jews in Kaifeng from as early as the 9th century, and quite possibly they came quite a bit earlier, probably along the Silk Road, which is a very important trade route, initially overland and then a maritime trade route that actually involved a lot of Jews. As you can see from this map, the circle on the left is basically where Talmudic Judaism, the Babylonian Talmud, was developed, and the green lines represent the various routes that Jewish traders and others, of course, made their way to China to pick up, in particular, silk, which was a huge item of demand for the Roman Empire, and also spices. This is sometimes called the spice route. Now, along the way, in this one particular place called Dunhuang, there was a Jewish explorer named Aurel Stein. He was actually baptized as a child by his parents, very common among Jews in Germany, but he made this amazing discovery that right there in Dunhuang, he found all these ancient medieval Chinese documents, and among them was included this carefully folded slicha, essentially a handwritten siddur that was carried by some traveler dating from the 8th or 9th century to China. Absolutely fascinating to see them there. At any rate, we know that by the 9th century, Jews were well established in Kaifeng and various other towns, and we have many, many reports of travelers who come by there and see them. We have some fascinating stories of the Jesuits who encountered them in the 17th century, and apparently they were deeply, deeply committed to their Jewish tradition, to a whole variety of Jewish practices, and in particular cherished their Torah scrolls, which they read in a kind of Sephardi style, as you can see in this picture, which was actually made by a Jesuit priest visiting the Jewish community there. They placed it on a special chair they called the Chair of Moshe, and they would read it there standing upright. Unfortunately, they do not seem to have a very deep connection with the Talmud, and by the time you get to the early modern period and into the 18th century, their attachment to Judaism begins to attenuate and fade, and they reach out desperately to try to get more Jewish leaders to teach them the Talmudic tradition, but they unfortunately were not successful. Ultimately, the Kaifeng Jewry fell into a tremendous decline. There are very, very few Jews left in Kaifeng, and I think this illustrates how important it is for the Jews to maintain their connections to the key document of Torah Shebaal Peh, which of course is the Talmud Bavli. Okay, with that hopefully word of inspiration, I hope this illuminated your daf. I wish you hatzlacha in your learning, and I look forward to going on to the next Masechta with you. Thank you for watching.